do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
All right, what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Welcome back here today to another episode of the JustBallin Podcast. Hope you guys did enjoy that little intro. Hopefully it's a little bit better than kind of what you guys have been hearing as of late. Instead of kind of like that normal background music, this one has like a few of my favorite highlights in NBA history. All of these moments, I pretty much remember where I was watching it live. You have the Curry from way downtown bang against the Thunder. You heard Kawhi's game winner against the Sixers in the 2019 playoffs. I was a sophomore in college that year. We got Iguodala blocked by James in there, and then just kind of remembering some other ones. Jeremy Lin, we get a little insanity as a Knicks fan. I had to throw some Nick highlight in there. Hopefully we get some good ones in this playoffs, where there's a KD game winner against Dallas in the playoffs, and that one as well. I believe it was Dallas. Yeah, I think so. And then there's some other ones. Obviously, you can probably remember what they were as well. Obviously, Ray Allen's 3. But yeah, it'll be a little bit cooler of an intro as we get into these podcasts. If you do watch on YouTube, you'll be able to see the highlights with it. Who knows, though? They may get copyrighted and you're never able to see that. And then I have to completely edit it out, which would be kind of funny. But as you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, obviously, you're just going to be able to hear those clips. So, with the NBA season kind of coming to a close, like we have basically a little above a month left of the year. Some teams have pretty much reached 70 total games played this season. I lied, 60 total games played this season. So there's about 20-ish games left for each team. And yeah, we're going to get into the playoffs very soon. Obviously, awards are going to be finalized. Most of them, I wouldn't say are locked up. I know for at least most improved, Maxey is like the odds-on favorite, like a decent favorite over Kobe White. For the Defensive Player of the Year, it's pretty much a favorite in Rudy Gobert. Wemby is pretty much locked up Rookie of the Year with some of the historic stretches he's been on. I think Coach of the Year is still up in the air. I feel like right now it's probably going to go between either JB Bickerstaff, Mark Daigneault, Chris Finch, or probably Joe Mazzulla, but I don't know if they'll give it to him. Sixth Man of the Year is not locked up, but Malik Monk is the favorite. I think he would really have to go on a cold stretch to lose that award. I think it's, his award to lose. But MVP is still up there in the air, with Joel Embiid definitely being the favorite to repeat this season, but not hitting 65 games. Obviously made it kind of wide open. I think right now it's probably a 3-man race, 2-man race, as I'm going to get into like basically the main topic of this podcast is going to be my MVP ladder. I'm going to give you guys my top 10, top 11 MVP ballot. If I had a vote and the season ended today, I will give you my MVP kind of predictions. So, and like how I would do it. That's basically how I would do it, not what I'm predicting that will happen. We're going to run through it. Basically, I have 11 names, 2 tied for 10. We're going to run it from 11 to 1, and I would love to hear your thoughts on YouTube. If you guys are watching, let me know in the comments maybe your top 3, your top 5 for MVP. And then if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can let me know maybe on Twitter, 6 Rings of Steel. You can let me know. I think on Spotify has the Q&A feature. Please let me know over there. I really I'm intrigued on what you guys see. And I read every comment. Obviously, I don't respond to every comment. Sometimes it would take up a little bit too much time, or it gets kind of repetitive. If the comments are very kind of similar, say it's like top 3 MVPs. I'm not going to be able to respond to everybody, but I read every comment basically. And it's really interesting to hear your guys' point of view. So going into this. Now, MVP is definitely a narrative award. And something I've been pretty vocal about is the winner should be on a good team in the NBA. I think they should be on a top 2 seed, top 3 seed in each conference. Like when Russell Westbrook won it over James Harden in 2017, I was not a fan of that because Russ and the Thunder were the 7th seed, or excuse me, the 6th seed that year. I think they were the 6th seed, and they versed the Rockets in round 1 when the Rockets were the 3 seed. I thought that alone should have gave it to Harden. And there have been MVPs with guys kind of lower in the standings as of late. I feel like maybe one of Jokic's, he could have been low in the standings, but obviously last year Embiid, they were the I believe they were the 2 seed, correct? Because then they ended up getting, or they were the 3 seed and they got Brooklyn in round 1. But yeah, that I'll keep in mind a little bit. There will be some, I guess, I don't know, continuity issues, or no, I don't know if that'd be the right word. I guess I could be even considered hypocritical with who I have at 3, but we'll get to that when it happens, and there'll be a reason why specifically. So we're going to start off with the guys that are tied at 10. You could throw either one of them at 10. I'm perfectly fine with it. Both of them are point guards that were all-stars in the Eastern Conference, by far the best players on their team, leading them to pretty respectable Eastern Conference standings right now. It's very tough to have like maybe some honorable mentions in here. Like I didn't want to double up on anybody on a team. So everybody here is the only guy on their like team mentioned. I don't want to have like there's one son I left the other son out. There's I don't even know if there'd be anybody else in here. There's one Buck. Obviously, I wasn't going to have Damian Lillard in here. I have one Celtic in here. I have one Clipper in here. I have one Timberwolf in here. I was not doubling up there. So we'll get into the honorable mentions kind of like when I'm talking about these guys going forward. I didn't want that, and I think that could be a little contradicting if they're an MVP, if they're also up there with another MVP candidate. So my first guy, we'll get into this. Sorry about the long intro. Tied for 10, Tyrese Halliburton. The Indiana Pacers are the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference this year. Currently, I mean, the East is a dogfight right now because the Knicks are 35 and 25 as the 4 seed, and the Heat are 33 and 26 as the 8 seed. So a lot can happen towards the end of the season, or even over the next week. And with injuries to the Knicks, the Pacers are relatively healthy. They have a great chance at maybe advancing as high as the 4 seed right now. Halliburton, 24 years old this year, was an all-star starter in the city of Indiana, is having the best passing season out of anybody in the league, maybe not named Nikola Jokic. His counting numbers right now are 21.5 points, 11.5 assists, 3.5 rebounds. He's shooting 48% from the field, 39% from 3, 85% from the line. He's averaging over a steal a night as well. Like I said, was an all-star starter and has definitely been one of the best offensive players in the league, bar none. I don't think that's up for debate. He's up there with one of the best point guards in the NBA. You can say he's had a top 5 point guard season in a loaded kind of conferences, or excuse me, a loaded position as well. So yeah, I have Halliburton in there. They're respectable team-wise. They're a great offensive team. They lack a lot on the defensive side of the ball. That's why he's not any higher. And who knows, if the Pacers go on some type of run, and they are the 7th seed right now. If they end the season as the 4th seed, I don't think Halliburton's going to win it. He definitely not. But I think he could be a borderline top 5 guy if the Pacers go on a little bit of a run here now that they're fully acclimated with Pascal Siakam on this team. And I think he's, it's weird because I thought Halliburton was a really good defender coming out of Iowa State, or at least solid. I think he's definitely taken a step back on the defensive side of the floor, which is a little interesting. But obviously he's devoting so much of his energy and play to his offensive side, and he is a phenomenal passer. I mean, he's averaging 11.5 assists. It's leading the NBA, and this Pacers team without him would be a bottom feeder in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. That was pre-Pascal Siakam. That was post-Pascal Siakam. They could be around a 500 team, but he's definitely added multiple wins to this Pacers season alone just on his ability, and I had to mention him. Tied for 10 because, okay, sorry for the weird cut here. For some reason, I could not edit this video for the life of me with this Jalen Brunson clip. I don't know why. It kept corrupting whenever I try to just render this clip. So I'm just going to be recording this at a different time in between Halliburton and the next guy. If you're listening on podcast or on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it'll be a little bit different. It's going to be the original file. But yeah, I basically had Halliburton tied with Brunson here, with the Knicks being a little bit better than the Pacers. And Brunson having, I think, just as good of a statistical season as Halliburton. I haven't basically tied with him. I know Halliburton is a better passer, but Brunson has also been phenomenal in that regard this year. Brunson is also not like a 2020 Trae Young on defense. He's not the best defender in the world. He's not like a good defender, but he's not a bad defender in my opinion. He knows his strengths. He knows his weaknesses. He's also one of the best in the NBA at drawing charges as well. So that's a kind of a benefit of his defensive side of the game. Obviously, he's not Drew Holiday on the point of attack, but I think he holds his own for someone that's 6'2", and I think it's impressive. Obviously, he's a little bit kind of stockier and can hold his weight there. But Brunson this year has been insane offensively. The Knicks, being where they are in the middle of the Eastern Conference, would not even be close to here without Brunson. I mean, at the end of January with Anunoby and Randall healthy, the Knicks were really good, and they had some great wins against Philly, blowing them out on the road, beating Denver, blowing them out as well, beating Minnesota at home in Anunoby's debut. And I know people always look at the Knicks record against teams under 500 versus 500, and they're not great against teams above 500. But with Anunoby, Randall, and Brunson all playing together, the record is good. So you got to have to look at like that and look at the big picture. But Brunson this year, averaging 27.5 points, 4 rebounds, 6.7 assists a night, shooting 48% from the field and 41% from 3, as well as 85% from the line. He has been phenomenal this year. Super efficient on the offensive side of the ball. He gets to his spots. He's super shifty. Obviously, he made it to his first All-Star game as well. If you look at his usage rate, it's around 30%, so it's up there with some of the top guys in the league. He's been asked to do so much, especially in the absence of OG Anunoby and Julius Randle. He's basically working with Precious Achiuwa, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, and new Bojan Bogdanovic. Hasn't been pretty so far. He's got a 59% true shooting percentage, which is, I think, right around or a little bit above league average at the moment. The on-off numbers look very good, too. And he should be, I don't think, top 5 in MVP conversations. I think, like, maybe after the month of January, that would have been his peak on the season, because the Knicks looked like there was a chance they could have even fought for the 2 seed, but obviously Cleveland shot up ahead of them or instead of them, they fall to the middle of the pack. And hey, they could end up just kind of falling to basically the 7 or 8 seed this year. I mean, right now they're 35-25. The Heat are 33-26, and they haven't been great without Anunoby and Julius Randle. They've had losses to the Pelicans. I mean, that was without Brunson. They've lost to Golden State when Brunson played. They lost to Boston as well. But yeah, the Knicks, it's a little bit inconsistent. I think like he's right there tied with Halliburton. If you wanted to put Brunson outside of the top 10, that's fine with me. But I think he's having a good enough of a season that he could be in here. And while I'm here, I also didn't mention Domantas Sabonis in this as well. I could have thrown him in as an honorable mention. So let's get into number 9, Anthony Edwards. So yeah, like obviously there'll be no Karl-Anthony Towns on Rudy Gobert, but I didn't think we were going to have a problem trying to have those guys in there as well. So the Minnesota Timberwolves, we all know, have been one of the best teams in the NBA this season, especially on the defensive side of the floor. They are currently the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. So that alone gives Ant some like bonus points there, because like they're 42-17. They've been atop of the conference all year. They're phenomenal on the defensive side of the floor. They're the best defensive team in the league. They're about average offensively, but obviously Anthony Edwards has really been picking up a lot of like kind of that team overall this year offensively. So Edwards' counting numbers, just to let you know, 26.5 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists a night, shooting 47% from the field, 38% from 3, and 84% from the line. I'm not going to say his defense is perfect, but he's still an incredible player. He's efficient. He gets to the spots he wants. He'll have those games where it's like, all right, it's an off night. How impactful will he be? But he'll still have an insane gravity to draw defenders in, and he'll still be smart with what he's doing. He still has a great true shooting percentage, a very high usage. They're a lot better with him on the floor, plus 9.5 in that. Obviously, offensively, he's been phenomenal for them this season. And overall, just one of the better two-way players in the league. And he's 22 years old, for crying out loud. He was drafted in 2020. And I think, like I said, having the Timberwolves as the number 1 seed alone, if you wanted to put him at number 5, based off that criteria, I can't deny that. I just said in the beginning of this how much I valued team wins in this. So I think Ant should 100% be in the top 10 right now. I guess I'll say it right now. I don't have Steph Curry. I don't have LeBron James. I don't have Anthony Davis. You could maybe make an argument for Steph. You could. Like the Warriors are 31-27, but they're the 10th seed right now. I can't justify that. I can't. The Lakers are the 9th seed. They're 33-28. That's tough to justify. Is there a player that's 3rd in my MVP ballot with one more win than the Lakers right now? Yes, and that's why I said when we get to that, I may come off as hypocritical. I may. But we'll get to that when we get to that. So right now at number 9, I have Anthony Edwards, first Western Conference guy mentioned. So we have him there. So coming in at number 8, we have Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard has had, I guess, a very inconsistent time in LA. Obviously, he's been dealt with plethora of injuries. And it's funny because Kawhi, I don't want to say he's a clutch player. Because basically after that 2019 shot against the Sixers, he hasn't really been that fantastic in the clutch, maybe in terms of game winners itself. The Clippers, we know that they made a major trade for James Harden. I think with them having Harden and Paul George also hurts Kawhi's MVP case, as it should, like for him to win the award, but I think 100% is top 10 in MVP. Currently right now, the Clippers are the 5th offensive team in the league, 14th on defense, 5th overall in just net rating alone. Kawhi, the big thing with though, like in his Clippers tenure, has been like, can he stay healthy? This year, he's been healthy, and he's a top 10 guy in the MVP voting, in my opinion, coming in at number 8, where he's averaging 24 points, 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists. Look at the efficiency. Listen to this. 53% from the field, 44% from 3, and 89% from the line. The dude is an absolute cyborg out there. 1.7 steals a night. The on-off numbers are there. Just pulling up his like usage, it's at 26%, so it's not as high as some of these other guys that we have mentioned so far because of him playing alongside James Harden and Paul George. He has a 63% true shooting percentage. He's played a lot of forward just overall this year. The on-off numbers are there. That kind of will justify his case that they are much better with him on the floor, and he's been healthy. There's a good chance he's going to hit the 65-game threshold. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Let's see Kawhi back on an All-NBA team. Just basically over the last couple of years, 52. Like, he already eclipsed his season high since 2020. And there's a great chance he's going to play this year the most amount of games he has played in a year since 2017. I'm going to knock on wood so I don't jinx that. In 2017, he played 74 games, then 9 in 2018. Got traded to Toronto that summer, 60 games, because load management obviously was a big thing of Kawhi's career. 57 in 2020, 52 in 21. Did not play at all in 2022 because of the ACL injury he suffered in the 21 playoffs. And then he played 52 last year and now 52 this year. So shout out to Kawhi Leonard, man. He's like a beast. And when he's out there, he's a top 10 guy in the league. But that's been a question with Kawhi. Will he be able to stay out there? So next up at number 7, I got Kevin Durant. So that means I chose Kevin Durant over Devin Booker. Like I said, I'm going to keep it consistent with that in the beginning of the video. I don't want to have two guys from the same team because I think that can contradict somebody's MVP case. So I don't have Devin Booker, who's been phenomenal. And if you wanted to put Booker here over KD, I'm perfectly okay with that for someone that's averaging 27-9 this season. But if I was going to pick one Sun on a team that is currently 35-24, they're fifth in the Western Conference, I was going to go with KD. KD has played in 52 games this year, just like Kawhi. He's averaging 28 points, 6.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and the efficiency is off the charts, man. 53% from the field, 43% from three, 86% from the line. KD's also averaging a block and a half a night. Like, shout out to him. Obviously, he was an all-star starter, still one of the more popular players in the league. And then just pulling up his advanced numbers right now, 63% true shooting percentage. That is phenomenal. His on-off numbers are great. The box plus stuff is great. Obviously, the defensive player, he's not what he used to be. But I don't think he's he's so much of a liability out there. I don't think he's like a complete walking stick out there. So just kind of, I wanted to pull up his on-off numbers real quick. But yeah, basically, like, his on-off numbers aren't as good as Kawhi's, but they're relatively there with, not as good as Anthony Edwards are, but they're basically right there as well. And he's obviously been so important to this team with all the injuries to Bradley Beal and even at times Devin Booker this year. I think that's why I also went with KD over Booker. He's played a couple more games. It's just 3, nothing crazy. But I think personally, KD's been more important to the Suns this year. And hey, if you're a Suns fan and you disagree with that, please let me know. Please let me know. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've watched all 8 or how many games have they played this year? 59 games. Have watched, all 59 games. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to you. So if you're a Suns fan, you definitely know more than me. I would love to be proven wrong on that. Like, I'm a guy that, like, I'm very cool with being proven wrong. Like, I'm not going to die on a take. I'm not going to be arrogant. I'm not going to be stubborn. If there is factual, objective data, or even like as a subjective Suns fan, and you're like, Matt, we would be not here without Devin Booker's playmaking, his ability to step up on the defensive end at times, and his time to just be the floor general and playing a completely new role this year with the Suns. He should be the MVP guy. That's fine with me. So I do have Devin Booker. You could say he's an honorable mention. You could say Booker's been more important to the Suns this year than Jalen Brunson to the Knicks, but I'm gonna go back at you on that because I don't know if that's entirely true, because Booker, like KD, has each other to play off of most of the time. Brunson has been dealing this without Randall and without OG Anunoby, and they didn't even have OG for a decent amount of time. So that would just be like my counter argument, and we can get into that if we want to get into that. So KD's at number 7. Coming in at number 6, this is one that I think is where I'm going to get a little bit hypocritical, because I have Jayson Tatum. It's tough, man. It's tough because, like I said, I value being a top seed. They are 46-12. They've been, for 99% of the season, the best team in the NBA. They're top 3 in defense. They're the number 1 offensive team. And Jayson Tatum is having an MVP stat line. 27 points, 8.5 rebounds, 5 assists. Shooting 47% from the field, 36% from 3, 82% from the line. Does he take more threes than he probably should? Yeah. Does he drive less than he probably should? Yeah. But he's still a great two-way player, and he's impactful on the best team in the league. This is where I'm going to feel like I could be proven wrong, and I'm perfectly fine with that. This is what I came up with, and as we get to the end of the year, if this is how the standings change out, yeah, I think I could have Tatum higher than, just spoiler, a couple of the next guys, Giannis and Luka. And I know the Celtics have been much better than the Dallas Mavericks this year. But I think when you guys have these players that are borderline off each other, and you can be like, man, winning, like Tatum has that edge over both Giannis and Luka. But I think the Mavericks have been good enough, and obviously their team looks a little bit different after the deadline, where you can be like, you take Luka off the Mavericks, you take Tatum off the Celtics, how are they going to respond? The Celtics had another all-star in Jaylen Brown. So did the Mavericks in Kyrie Irving, or borderline in Kyrie Irving. And then the Celtics also had 2 borderline all-stars in Derek White and Kristaps Porzingis, and the best, or one of the best point of attack defenders, Jrue Holiday, in the league. But Tatum has been phenomenal, like I said. The on-off numbers are there completely. Not as nice as some of the other guys, but obviously because of how fantastic they've been as a team. The defense has been there. The true shooting is there. The usage is very high still. He's the number 1 on this team. And if you want to have him higher and debate with me, please, I'm going to be fine with that. I don't think I would have Tatum 1 or 2. I think 6-3 is where he can get debated. I'm probably a little bit lower on him because there's one guy that I'll talk about in a little bit. So coming in at 5, I have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yeah, 2nd in the Eastern Conference. You can probably already guess who it is at number 1. Yes, his name is Miles McBride. No, I was going to name some random Nick. I was going to say random, but obviously that's... All right, I'm stupid. Let me move on. So yeah, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Bucks have had a very inconsistent season. Obviously, got off to one of the worst defensive starts they've had in the Giannis era, or since Giannis has been very good in this league. They're currently the 3 seed right now, basically tied with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They've had technically 3 head coaches this year, with Adrian Griffin getting let go, Joe Pruney coming in and beating the interim, and then they hired Doc Rivers. So obviously with the new head coach, it's going to get tough to get acclimated, especially in midseason form. Giannis is averaging 30 points, 11 rebounds, 6.5 assists, and shooting 62% from the field. Yes, he's not a great free throw shooter. Yes, he's not a great three-point shooter, but the numbers are there, man. He's also averaging a block a night and a steal a night. He's having a much better year this year than he is last year, in my opinion, even though he's averaging 0.5 less points per game. And I don't think that matters. Giannis is still one of the more dominant players in the league. And I think you take Giannis off the Bucks and you take Tatum off the Celtics, who's going to be more impactful? Like, if each of them missed a week with an injury, I would be more trustworthy into the Celtics core around Giannis, around Tatum than I would with the Bucks around Giannis. Obviously, that's not fair to the players because they don't pick the team, and obviously you want the better team. But I think that is a counter argument you can have into some of these MVP races. So I think Giannis is also a better defender. I think he's still underrated as a defender. I feel like he should have more than one DPOY in his career. I think he maybe should have got one of them over Rudy Gobert. I know the Marcus Smart one is interesting as well in that debate. But yeah, or even like Triple J. I don't know. I really like Giannis' defense. I think like he's very impactful to what this team is. That doesn't show up in the box score when I watch it. And he's very smart on that side of the floor. But they've definitely had their lapses this year. Obviously, he's not getting bailed out sometimes because you're going from Drew Holiday, one of the best defensive guards in the league, to Damian Lillard, who is not even in Drew's stratosphere on terms of defense. So I do have Giannis one spot ahead of Tatum. They are a 5-game difference in the standings, but I think Giannis has had a better season, more impactful to the team. And that's kind of what my reasoning was. I know. I think, honestly, though, in a vacuum, you look at Giannis' season, you look at Tatum's season, Giannis has been better. Yes, Tatum has more wins, but I think Giannis is a little bit more important to this team, and he has better on-off numbers. I don't know. I don't think that's the end-all, be-all, and you could definitely convince me to having Tatum above Giannis. I'm pretty open about this because I'll stand and I'll die on the hill of my number 1, but as you get to, like, 3 to 7, or even everybody else, I think they're all up for debate. So this is probably my biggest outlier here that I think I'm a little bit different. Coming in at number 4, I got Donovan Mitchell. Yes. So I think a lot of people are going to be like, wow, man, you have Donovan Mitchell ahead of Jayson Tatum. You have Donovan Mitchell ahead of Giannis Antetokounmpo, ahead of Kevin Durant. Yeah, I'm a Donovan Mitchell guy this year, man. I think he gets a bad rap for his defense. Obviously, there's been some playoff series when he was on the Jazz. He's not as bad as people say he is, in my opinion. 47% from the field, 37% from 3, 86% from the line, 28 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 6 assists. All right, those are somewhat similar to Tatum's numbers just on surface value. Obviously, Tatum is a better defender, for sure. The Cavs are right there. They are kind of I lied when I said the Bucks are 5 games back of the Celtics. They're 7. Sorry about that. So the Cavs are around 7-8 back of the Celtics as well. But you take Mitchell off this Cavs team, man. So when the Cavs ended up being one of the best teams in the league, when they were without Evan Mobley and Darius Garland, that's where this narrative could help us. I'm not going to say it's Tatum's fault. Yeah, Derek White and Kristaps did not get hurt this year, so Tatum never had a chance to show that he was a top guy without some of these guys. But I think we have to give Donovan Mitchell credit for keeping this Cavs team afloat basically from the beginning of January to the mid-part of February. Like, without Evan Mobley and Darius Garland, this dude was one of the best players in the league. And yeah, I'm not saying they had so many impressive wins, right? They beat Washington a couple times, a bad Atlanta team, Chicago, Brooklyn, San Antonio. But they also had a win against Milwaukee, 2 wins against Milwaukee, a win against the Clippers, a win against the Kings. I guess like the Raptors isn't as impressive, neither with the Grizzlies, but he beat the teams ahead of them. It was a weaker schedule, yes, and I think that could dock him from being any higher. But I think what Mitchell has done, more on the offensive side, but even sometimes on the defensive side, and keeping this team afloat, that point I have to give him credit for. And I think that's what I'm going to give him the edge over Giannis and over Tatum, because without, on paper, maybe going into the year, your second and third best guys, probably Garland was number 2. You could probably say Allen was 3, and Allen was incredible. Going to give him a ton of credit, too. He should have been up there in the DPOY conversation a little bit more, I thought. But yeah, Mitchell kept this team afloat. Phenomenal job. People were calling for JB Bickerstaff's head around this time when Garland and Mobley went down, and Mitchell kept this team in this, and in my opinion, that stretch has earned him a top 5 in the MVP. If you wanted to have Tatum ahead of him, fine. But if you want to have Giannis, it's tough, man. It's tough. I think Donovan Mitchell, what he's done this year has been incredible, and that stretch is going to give him the number 4 ranking here. So this is where I'm fully hypocritical, and I will admit that I have Luka Doncic at number 3. Luka this year has been so important to a Dallas Mavericks team. The knock on Luka is going to be where the Mavericks are in the standings right now, as currently they are the 7th seed, 34 and 25. Now they could win, Phoenix and New Orleans can lose, and they're immediately the 5 seed. They're only 3 games back of the 4-seeded Clippers. So yeah, if they were the 4 seed, obviously this would look a lot better. They've been a little bit up and down. Obviously they had that, I don't know, I'm not going to say fluke loss to the Cavs with the Max Strus game winner, but obviously that hurt and you didn't think that was going to happen. But if you want to be like Matt, you have Luka here, this high at 3. No Curry, who is 3 wins lower than the Mavericks, or no LeBron or AD, just basically 1 win, 1.5 games behind the Mavericks. Fine. You want to say that? Fine. But I when I watch Luka Doncic play, he's one of the most valuable players in the league. He's coming in at number 3. He's leading the NBA in scoring this year, 34.4 points. He's averaging 9.7 assists and 8.8 rebounds. Going back to his 34.5 points, which is leading the league, it's efficient. It's efficient, man. He's not even shooting that great from the line. Yes, he gets to the line a ton, 9 attempts a night. He's shooting 78% from the line, which isn't great. That's not what an MVP candidate probably should do. 49% from the field for a guard on this volume. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. And then 38% from 3 on 10 attempts a night. Yeah, that's really good. I know 38% isn't what it used to be, but on that volume, and his ability just to slow the game down, get to his spots, still set up his teammates, he's almost averaging a triple-double. I know 8.8 rebounds is not close to 10, but it's solid. It is solid for sure. And I think what Luka has done offensively this season has been so important to the Dallas Mavericks. And you could dock him a little bit because of how good Kyrie Irving has been, and now their team's better. So should they be accomplishing a little bit more? Yes, this team has still underachieved this season, I think, with the talent they have. But Kyrie missed some time. The Grant Williams signing was a disaster. They still lack some big man depth until the deadline, and they asked way too much out of a 19-year-old Derek Lively. But in my opinion, Luka has been the 3rd most valuable player this year, and I'm willing to not die on that hill. If you want to give me a good Tatum argument because of wins, I will not be able to disagree because, like I said, I value that. That's why I don't have Luka number 1. That's why I don't have Luka number 2, because I think Luka is very close to my number 2 guy, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They are the 2 seed in the Western Conference, basically a game behind the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I think Luka, in a vacuum, individual-wise, is having a better year than Shai. I do, but that's what I'm going to dock Luka from Shai is because of the wins, especially since they're in the same conference. Shai has been one of the best, most efficient scorers this season. I've talked about so many guys' efficiency in this video, but Shai averaging 31 points, 5.5 rebounds, 6.5 assists. It's great on 55% shooting from a point guard. Man. That's insane. 39% from 3, 88% from the line. If he catches fire in this last month of the NBA season, month and a half, there's a good chance he's a 50, 40, 90 guy on 31 points per game. And if they finish with more wins than the Denver Nuggets, who obviously you know who I have number 1, there's going to be a great case for Shai to get his first MVP award. The defense is still fine. Maybe not what he was in the Clippers time and his early OKC time, because obviously he's now putting so much of his time and effort to the offensive side of the ball. Now he is a great rim protector and help defender in Chet Holmgren, but he is so good, man. A 65% true shooting percentage from a guard. He's one of the best in win shares in this league by far. He's definitely one of the better analytical players. The on-off numbers scream that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should be right there in the MVP race. And it would be funny if Shai got his first MVP over Jayson Tatum and Luka Doncic, who I feel like for the last couple of years have been saying, when are they going to get their first MVPs? Obviously, Luka was in the same class as Shai. Tatum was a year earlier, but Shai took a little bit of time to develop. Obviously, he spent his rookie year in LA, got traded to OKC, was playing with or behind Chris Paul and Dennis Schroeder for some time, and really broke out onto the scene as an MVP guy last year. It would be crazy if he won his first one this year. It would just be funny, yeah, before Tatum and before Luka Doncic. So I'm all for a first-time MVP as well. So if it goes to Luka, if it goes to Donovan Mitchell, if it goes to Tatum, if it goes to Shai, I would be happy with either one of those guys because I love seeing a first-time MVP winner. I was very on the fence with Embiid last year. I was basically 51% Embiid, 49% Jokic, but I was happy that Embiid got his first. So my number 1 guy is Nikola Jokic. This would be his 3rd. I think he maybe deserved it a little bit more last year, and people were like, wow, 3 MVPs has only been done by 2 guys in NBA history. I don't even think Jordan did it. I think the last time it happened was Bird in the 80s. And the Nuggets are 41-19. They're basically a game back of the 1 seeded Timberwolves. So they have that team record that I think would give them which you could dock them on, but you can't because they're right up there. They would be the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they have a top 4 record in basketball. Jokic this year, stats-wise, is averaging 26 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists a night. 9 assists. 6'11", center. Yeah, I think that might be more impressive than Halliburton's 11 assists. 58% from the field, 35% from 3, 4.5% from 3, 82% from the line. It seems like it's not as impressive as last year, but the stats are there. This is probably maybe not as great as his MVP seasons before offensively, but I think it's very equal to them. Very equal, and I think it's going to earn him his 3rd MVP. It would have been interesting if Embiid played 65 games, or I wonder what, if that role wasn't a thing, and if Embiid ended up playing, I don't know. Embiid's probably not even going to play that much this year. He does plan on coming back. I wonder, what that debate would have been. I mean, Embiid has only played in 34. Say he got, another 10 games, 45. Yeah, I don't think they would have given it to him. That's still not enough. Either way. But, yeah, Jokic is there. Just how efficient he is, how the game has slowed down so much for him. Basically what Luka's doing, but it's impactful more to winning at this point. And you could say he's done all this without ever playing with an all-star because Murray never made an all-star game. Aaron Gordon, not an all-star, but a very good player. Obviously, KCP, Michael Porter Jr., all great players as well. The younger guys have stepped up, but his on-off numbers are the best in the league. They are. Plus 20 on-off number is almost double than everybody else we just mentioned. And that alone, I think, also gave Jokic the edge out over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So this was tough, man. This was tough. I think I'm cool with it. I think I could definitely get convinced to lowering Luka because of team record and maybe bumping up Tatum. You can maybe swap Luka and Tatum, but I think Luka's individual season and how valuable he has been to Memphis earns him that spot specifically. But you can also dock him for defense, and I value defense, and I don't think Jokic is a bad defender. He's not a great defender. He's not like Rudy Gobert or Triple J or Giannis or Bam on that side of the floor, but he's fine. But what he does offensively impacting this game is crazy. And it seems like some teams just have no chance when they play the Nuggets. And yeah, it also helps Jokic. I mean, I think it helps Shai too that they don't play with other all-stars right now currently. I think that could dock Tatum. That could dock Luka playing with Kyrie to an extent. That could even dock Donovan Mitchell if you're all right, he plays with Garland, Mobley, and Allen. I don't think Mobley's as good as people maybe think he is, but he's solid, and Garland has had his up and downs this year, but Allen has been very good. So that is going to be my MVP ballot as of March 1st. Shout out to March. We are here, like I said, about a month and a half till the season is over. Very excited for college basketball podcast. I think I'm going to have a podcast exclusive, not going out on a Straws channel or anything, mock draft on here. So make sure you're following on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or subscribed. I'm going to do one pre-March Madness or maybe conference tournament matchups, end of the regular season one. And then when March Madness is over, we'll be doing a post-mock, which I'm going to be very excited to kind of look back on and maybe somebody get to have their draft stock rise throughout the tournament. Could it fall for some guys? Could we see Dalton connect, maybe jump up to in the top 10 guaranteed conversation, or could he drop if he has a bad tournament? We will see. I'm very excited for that. I'll be doing my March Madness predictions on this pod, my conference tournament predictions on this pod as well, which I'm very excited to do. And yeah, if you guys have any ideas that you want to see, let me know in the comments on YouTube or let me know on Twitter, twitter.com/666steal, and I will definitely give you a shout out if I want to use your topic for any podcast. Now, I think I've been trying to do 2 to 3 a week. I'm going to stick with that schedule. If I can pump out more, I can pump out more. It seems like you guys enjoyed me reacting to some mock drafts, which I think is something that I could do maybe once a week, and then some maybe original ideas that are coming from me specifically for the other 2. So thank you guys all for watching and listening. If you're watching on YouTube, I'd appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already to the pod. And if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, would really appreciate a rating and review over there if you're following. And if you're watching on YouTube, go follow the pod on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen to it on the go, at the gym, in the car, whenever you want. So links are in the description. Thank you all for watching and listening, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.